Hi, I'm Jeanette, the North Down Coach. I'm glad you're here with me today. I'm continuing my series on career camp. Again, full disclosure, I'm not a camper, but I find the idea very attractive from what I've seen on TV and in movies and in beautiful pictures. So here we are at career camp. I do know something about careers. I work with quite a few clients on these topics and wanted to share it with you in this campground sort of experience. So today I want to dig into a foundational piece. So if we think about the campground, it's equivalent to what are we doing to set up camp? So where we're setting up the tent and the cooking and, all the headquarters sorts of things about the camping experience. One of the foundational pieces of it might be the tent or the cooking or so forth. And in career camp, what I want to bring up as foundational is the topic of, drum roll, networking. And I can almost hear you saying, I'm not a good networker. And how do I know you're saying that? Because there's a pretty good chance you're saying it based on my experiences with the number of clients that tell me that they're not a good networker, and that feels like it's a pretty common sentiment out there. Now, whether that's objectively true, I think is to be determined, because my theory is that when we say we're not a good networker, what we're saying is we're not a good person who comes into a big group setting, has business cards or contact, the digital equivalent of business cards to pass out in a large group of strangers and ask people for jobs. Of course, we're not good at that. That is a really icky, slimy sort of feeling thing. I completely agree with you on that topic. What we have to think about when it comes to networking is the definition of what we're trying to do. And I'd offer that networking is really about just building relationships. They could be weak tie relationships, somebody that you get to know lightly, or they could be relationships that you develop deeply over time. It's the whole set of connections that we have out there on a human-to-human basis. And so when we take it away from thinking about it from, I need a job, I need it quickly, I need to activate the network, and really think about it from the perspective of building conversations out of curiosity on topics that are not so much about, let me find out about getting a referral to that particular job, although there's a time and place for that. But if it's not that, it's really, I'd offer the bigger question of, what's it like doing your job? What's it like working in this company? What's your career history been? Tell me a little bit about yourself and your story. What do you like about what you do on a daily basis? What do you wish that you could have done? All of those sorts of questions from a real authentic place of curiosity are the core of good networking. And I'd offer are not so slimy and icky if coming from a true place of authentic curiosity. So when we reframe around that, then there's less tendency, I would think, to say, I'm not a good networker, because you do have relationships that you have built successfully over the course of your career and time. And so if you think about that as your network and just building more of those over time, including the times when you're not actively in job search mode. So the times when you are simply working on doing your job and maybe reaching out to connections to help you. Maybe you have a particularly vexing problem that comes up, reaching out to a couple of people that you can brainstorm with. That's all networking. So when we reframe it like that, then we can start to really build that strong foundation and base. And we take that back to career camp and we think about, okay, then what is that? That's the camp headquarters. That's building the strong foundation. And then when there are times that we need to take that connection and perhaps ask for a referral, it's all been built on, nice connections over time. Now, if you are contemplating or are in the midst of job search mode and finding like your network is feeling kind of weak at this point and you're worried about how to move forward on that, I will put a link for just a free strategy session in the description box. Take me up on that. Let's have a conversation about where you sit right today and how you can move forward in a comfortable way in the networking. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back next week with another video. Take me up on the free offer. And also, I'd love to hear from you in comments. Let's have a conversation there. All right, take care.